Good morning everyone, hope you're well. Today is all about close-up photography, macro photography, and the conditions this morning are absolutely perfect in my opinion. There's a little bit of cloud around, which is really nice because sometimes when it's a completely clear sky it can get very bright very quickly in the middle of summer once that sun gets up. But today there's a little bit of sun breaking through, but there's like a thin layer of cloud and that's just helping to diffuse the light. So all I've got with me today is, what have I got? I've got the camera, the Canon 1DX with a Canon 100mm macro attached to it, and then I've also got an extension tube. I've got a 21mm extension tube, and I've got a 1.4 extender which I might be using. So the main thing I'm looking for this morning is definitely insects, so in particular damselflies, because this is a really rich site for damselflies, and hopefully some dragonflies are going to be about, and then anything else really, butterflies. Sometimes you get like little larvae, beetles, spiders, anything of that nature I'll take. There's a beautiful damselfly just landed on this plant stem. What's great about these conditions where it's not really hot is that when you do get an insect like this damselfly that's landed here, they just tend to be slower and they're not going to be off as quickly as they would be once the temperatures got higher. So I've already got a subject, which is it's either a common blue or an azure damselfly. Haven't had a proper look yet. Having to disturb any vegetation or plant life is not good. Obviously you don't want to be destroying anything, but also if it's very near to the damselfly, then just that disturbance, and it might even fly off depending on the temperature. So if you can find a spot where you can get very close without having to get into the plants or the reeds, and it's just perfect. But to do this, I'm actually going to put the extender on as well. So I'm going to use a 1.4 extender with the macro lens. I'm not going to show exactly how to do this, but I'll put a link on the screen to a video I made quite a long time ago, and that shows you exactly how to do this technique. So I'm going to get the macro lens on, see how close I can get. This is quite unusual. Most of my photography of damselflies and dragonflies is handheld, again because it's just very difficult to get a tripod in there without disturbing everything, so I do tend to do a lot of it handheld. But this guy is in such a perfect position and the temperatures are really quite low, so he's happy to stay there. He's not wanting to fly at the moment, which means that I've had time to get the tripod in place. So I've been able to get the tripod here without disturbing too much. At the moment I've got the extender on as well, so there's a 1.4 extender attached there, also with an extension tube. Again, if you check out that video you'll see exactly how that combination works. But the real advantage of the tripod, you want to use a tripod wherever you can for macro photography. Well, a lot of the time it's just not that practical, but the real advantage is in terms of stability and shutter speed. So using the tripod means that as long as the damselfly and the plant stem isn't swaying too much in the little breeze, it means I can get the shutter speed right down and also get the ISO down. It just makes everything a lot easier. This is absolutely perfect. In fact, I've been able to get in so close. And the real key with macro photography is trying to keep the back of the camera as parallel as you can to the subject. That's the number one thing you want to do. I would try and do that first before anything, wherever possible, because that gives you, automatically increases your depth of field. If you're shooting at an angle, slightly from above it or slightly from one side of it, then you're not going to get that sharpness, that depth of field throughout the insect. So that's been my number one priority. So I've been getting taking quite a bit of time to get the tripod in place so I can get as parallel as possible. So the settings I'm aiming for, I really do try and keep it very simple. Now I know that using the 1.4 extender with the macro lens is reducing the depth of field even more. Now I want an aperture that's just going to give me enough sharpness in the insect, hopefully get the head and the body nice and sharp, but I don't want an aperture that's too small that's going to bring the background into too much focus. So I want to try and keep that background out of focus but get the insect nice and sharp as well. So I've gone for f8, and then I'm just working around that basically in terms of shutter speed and the ISO. So again, I want a shutter speed that's just going to stop any slight movement. Any movement from the camera should be pretty much zero. It's absolutely rock solid on the tripod and the ball head. The main movement I've got is the stem. Even on this very, very still morning, there's still a little bit of breeze which is moving it. So I've got a shutter speed of 1/80th of a second at the moment, which is still fairly slow. So that means that I have to be really careful keeping everything as stable as I can when I take the picture. And to balance all that out, I've got an ISO of 1000. Now, if I was photographing something which was absolutely rock solid and I had no concern of any movement at all, then it would just be like landscape photography, where I'll actually use mirror lockup on the camera and I'd use a 2-second timer. So I'd just leave the camera to take the picture, and that means that I don't have to be touching the camera, and it really keeps the camera shake and vibration down. In this situation, I don't think that really works. It doesn't tend to work too much, I don't think. Partly because you've always got a little bit of a breeze which is blowing the insect around, we usually have in this country. And even though it's very still this morning, there's the slightest of breezes. So the technique that I like to use is actually to have the camera nice and solid on the tripod, but then I still actually hold the camera, and I just sort of try to dampen everything a little bit. I don't grip it, I just try to dampen any vibration by holding the camera, but I'll keep tweaking the focus ring. So I'll basically just, I'll tweak the focus ring, take a shot, tweak it again, and I'll just keep doing that repeatedly, maybe take about 10 different shots. And the reason for that is just you need to be really, really accurate with this style of photography. You need to be very accurate on where you're focusing. So I know that sometimes I might not be absolutely accurate the first time I do it, so I'll take a number of shots, just keep tweaking the focus slightly, maybe take one on the body, one on the head. I just absolutely love this habitat. It's so good for insects. It's just full of really low vegetation, loads of plants and flowers. We've got vetch, which is really good for insects. Loads of bird's foot trefoil, which is a food plant of the common blue butterfly, and also looks like knapweed. I know there's some thistles here as well, but it's just really that kind of low vegetation, which is quite extensive, which is just fantastic for the insects. Clover, got some clover as well, and there's a few orchids in there as well. The conditions this morning are pretty much absolutely perfect for this style of photography. The wind speed is so important. So when I'm looking to do my macro photography, the light is important, but I would say the wind is actually more important to me. So I'll check the weather forecast, and if I see a period in the summertime, if I see a period where the winds are really low, then I'll try and get out in the morning. So I would watch, and if you get wind speeds forecast for 6 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour, or even less, which is quite unusual in the UK, if you get less than 5 miles an hour, then it's just absolutely perfect for macro photography. You've really got to try and get out if you can do. So that was the thing today. So today the winds were forecast down to 5 miles an hour, even less than that. So I was definitely going to head out this morning. Well, I have had a look for some dragonflies just in this spot where I am now. Haven't really found any so far, but to be honest, I'm more than happy with what I got earlier, just that one damselfly. I'd much rather spend some time on one subject and just getting some really good solid shots than run around and end up with a load of average ones. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learnt a few tips there as well. If you're not subscribed, do click on the subscribe button, why not? And click on the bell icon for notifications as well. And I'll see you soon for another nature photography video. So until next time, I will say, so until next time, I'll see you somewhere in nature, sometime soon. I'll see you somewhere in nature, sometime soon. Ah, thistle up my ass.